and welcome to another Mad Hatter review. So, thought I would do something a little bit different in this video. Thought I would do story time, okay? It's story time, boys and girls. The reason why I'm doing that is because I have been reading the LAST RONIN issues. Issue 3 just dropped, and I got in a little late on issue 1. I had heard from a friend that, hey, you got to check this out. Now, I'm more of like a movie, TV guy. Back in the day, I was huge into comics, and now I just kind of sporadically get comics that look interesting or somebody recommends. I am in no way a aficionado of every comic encyclopedia knowledge. Yeah, that's issue 23 where that happened and this and that, but I do dabble, and I have heard great things about The Last Ronin when it first was released. Picked it up, immediately got sucked in, and they just released issue 3. So was going to kind of like, I don't know, do some kind of like a recap in case anybody is interested. Let me give the warning. First of all, number 1, spoilers. Giant spoilers. I'll probably even put that in the title. Don't take a look at this if you are going to read the books. But for anybody that is expecting the happy-go-lucky Ninja Turtles and like from the 1987 cartoon or the cartoons in general, and we're eating pizza and cowabunga and this and that, do not read this book. It is anything but that. This is gritty Turtles. This is Mirage Turtles. It's IDW that puts this out, but it's Spirit of the Mirage Turtles. This is all about the more dark and depressing things in life, which is fun to read sometimes. That's number 1. Number 2, I don't think I had a number 2, but so what I was going to do is jump in before I talk about issue 3, just kind of give you a recap on issue 1 and issue 2, just in case you don't know, unless you want sort of the cliff notes. I'm probably forgetting about a bunch of stuff because it's been a while since I read issue 1, but issue 1 basically sets up the story. So you got this lone turtle, that's the Last Ronin. You don't know who the turtle is, okay? He's gritty, and he's tough, and he's mean, and he talks like a badass, so you're like, is this Raph? Is this Leonardo? He's talking to different, there's different voices that talk to him, and you soon realize that he's talking to the memory of his 3 brothers, to the Ninja Turtles that have passed away in ways that you don't know, okay? And that is because this takes place in the future. This is sort of a post-apocalyptic story of the Ninja Turtles. I think maybe 80 years, 100 years in the future. I'm not exactly sure. New York pretty much looks like Blade Runner. And, you got the flying cars, you got the city. There's all these basically rebel groups that sort of live in the sewers and on the streets. Anyway, life sucks in this future New York because the city is pretty much run by a guy named Oroku Hiroto. All right? If that name rings a bell or if it sounds familiar, it's because he is the grandson of Oroku Saki, the Shredder, and the son of Oroku Karai, who is Shredder's daughter and a badass in her own right. So that's kind of the setup. Then the story takes place where you see this Last Ronin turtle, this mystery turtle, raiding his compound. He wants Oroku Hiroto. He wants him dead. Now, you don't know who this turtle is, but he's climbing the compound, and it starts out pretty badass. All these robots are trying to stop him, and then you get these futuristic mousers that are trying to stop him and all this. Anyway, it gets really, really close, but gets knocked off the building and falls 100 stories to what he thinks is his death, but Crash doesn't die, okay? But he's in fucked up shape, goes into the sewers, and he's like, oh, I failed the memories of my brothers and my father and this and that, and he's going to commit, seppuku. He's going to take the sword and end it all, but he loses too much blood, and he gets found by somebody, and he has this memory of his brother, and he wakes up, and a very, very old, very weathered April O'Neil finds him and identifies him as, spoiler alert, Michelangelo. Michelangelo is the Last Ronin. So that takes us, I think, pretty much to issue 2. So this old Mikey wakes up, and now this Last Ronin, he's a lot stronger than his brothers and what he was before, because April reveals that he's kind of mutating, he's getting stronger, he's healing, so he's kind of this bulky badass. He's not the same old Mikey. and I'm just kind of refreshing myself here. So then you get like a flashback of April, and April married Casey Jones, and he's trying to get his life back together. And this issue starts out with Splinter. Splinter is all hurt because they got jumped by the Foot Clan. By the way, in the future, they do establish that there is a Foot Clan, but they're like cyborgs, okay? They're like half human, like reanimated dead people, and that's like the Foot Clan, and they're like the soldiers that are running New York City, and they suck, or they suck for the people that work, that try to live there. So you got, back to issue 2, so you got April, and April in the past, they reveal she married Casey Jones, and she's having tea with Mikey, and she explains that she hasn't seen him in like 10 years. Hey, what happened to you? Where'd you go? Why are you back? And then he goes through all that. And then you also see flashbacks of Raphael. And Raphael in the flashback is all pissed off that the Foot Clan almost killed Splinter. And he goes after him. And at this point in the story, or in the flashback, they were led by Karai, Oroku Karai, Shredder's daughter. And he goes right after her. And he's like, let's fucking go at it. And they do go at it, and they start fighting. He takes out a bunch of foot soldiers. They start fighting, and then they drop in the water, and then they're fighting in the water, and then what happens? He stabs her with a sai in the back, and she stabs him in the head, right here in the chin, and she kills him. She kills Raphael. I read that. I had to read it twice, okay? I read that part. I was like, I'm not okay with this. It was very, very emotionally jarring. I told you, this is not your 1987 Turtles. And then Raphael just floats into the water. It's beautifully done, but it's fucking sad. And so, yeah, very, very bothersome to look at. Raphael's my guy. I don't want to see him go out like that. But anyway, now we fast forward, and old April. By the way, April has a robot arm and a robot and a robot leg. Okay, so she's lost her arm, she's lost her leg somehow. They don't reveal how, but she talks to Mikey, and then she introduces their daughter, which they kind of establish. Casey Marie Jones. She got pregnant. She had a daughter. So you get like sort of like a new Casey Jones, and she's kind of like whip smart, and she's sort of like a badass in her own right. And they established that there's all these rebels, and we're part of the rebel group. Okay. And Mikey's like, whoa, there's a rebel group, and they kind of like suck him into that. And then you get a flashback where Mikey, I guess, I forgot about this. He went to Japan, and he started training in Japan. They weren't accepting him. He went there, and you don't know why he went there yet, but he went there, and then he started learning all the different weapons and all the different types of ninjutsu and this and that. And then issue 2 ends off where April has Fugitoid's head. And then that takes us all the way to issue 3, The Last Ronin, issue 3. So this one should be a little more fresh in my mind. So this starts out with a flashback of Oroku Hiroto, Shredder's grandson, and he takes over the Foot Clan, and they're like, you are the new leader of the Foot Clan. And then he's like, you know what? Let's make peace with the Ninja Turtles. Let's do a parlay. Our clans have been fighting for too long. You also reveal, and you revealed this before, but I forgot, Oroku Karai, his mother, is not dead. She's sort of in this incubated stasis, okay? Not dead, not really alive, but she's not dead, okay? But then you go to Oroku Hiroto, and he's like, mother, I'm going to do this for you, this and that. And he basically he goes full communication to the whole city as a hologram, and he basically says, hey, I want this last Ronin turtle. There's a mutant turtle out there. I want that guy dead. And until I find him, or until he's dead, it's martial law. And then all these foot soldiers just take over the place. They take over the city. And then you cut to Michelangelo. So everything sucks now, and now it's getting very oppressive. Then you cut back to April, and she's trying to reprogram Fugitoid. Okay, there's something going on with Fugitoid. What is the deal with him? They don't know yet. But then they go to a flashback, and this is now it's I don't know how many years ago, but now Raphael is dead, and there's 3 turtles, and there's Fugitoid, and he's with them, and they're like, oh, we got to raid some compound or something, and then we reveal Baxter Stockman. Baxter Stockman works against them, and he releases all of these mousers and foot guys to go destroy the rebel group. That's what it is. You got Casey Jones and Turtles, and they're trying to do some shit against Oroku Hiroto's forces because the peace treaty did not go through. They, of course, backstabbed them. They betrayed them on the peace treaty. That was just a sham to kind of get them out into the open. So now they're inundated. Baxter Stockman's forces are trying to kill our heroes, and they send out all these futuristic flying mousers to go kill them. And it's this whole Megillah. And then all of this culminates with Leonardo and Casey Jones basically saying, "You guys take off. We're gonna stop them. We're gonna buy you guys some time." And when they do that, Baxter Stockman is like, "I want that Fugitoid because there's something about him that I need." Fugitoid's like, "Fuck you, you're not getting me." So Baxter goes, "Well, you know what? All these mousers are armed, so I'm gonna just blow the whole place up." And he hits the button, and boom, everything gets blown up, and Leonardo and Casey Jones are killed in the flashback. So two turtles down, and a badass vigilante. I told you, this is depressing shit. Then you go to the future again, and then you see Casey Marie Jones, and she's kind of trying to rile up the rebellion guys to like, we got to stop Oroku Hiroto. He's an asshole. And then it goes to an April flashback, and she reveals that she was also affected by the explosion, and that's why she has the robot arm and the robot and the prosthetic leg. And that she kind of lost everything in that moment, and she realized that she was pregnant, okay? And the husband's dead. Casey Jones is dead, obviously, so that sucked. And Michelangelo also reveals that he was fucked up in that explosion. So after the explosion, Mikey gets on a plane, wants to go to Japan because I think that's where Splinter and Donnie were trying to do the truce, and he kind of wants to warn them. So he gets on a Delta flight, gets to Japan, and that's where he sort of learned to train and kind of find himself and all that. Also, the flashback art is done by Kevin Eastman, so that's kind of like a cool little Easter egg too. It's kind of like that old style. As soon as I saw it, I was like, this art looks really, really familiar, and then I looked it up, and then of course, so that's really cool too. And then it goes back to April, and she's kind of like readying everybody, like the rebels, to attack. And then it cuts to Oroku Hiroto, and he's like on a roof, and he's talking about he's like a god, and you know, he's got all this power in his head and this and that, and it becomes very clear that he's batshit crazy, and he's kind of suicidal because he just falls off of a building just because he just trips and falls, and he's laughing, and it looks like something's about to pick him up, so he doesn't die, but he's fucked up in the head. And then just goes back to April, and she's like, all right, well, we're going to take the next step with the rebel group, and how do we do that? And then they show this pretty badass looking van, and that's supposed to be sort of like, I guess, the turtle van, or the upgraded souped up turtle van. And that's what you got. That's issue 3. So again, pretty dark stuff, but pretty entertaining. This is a really, really cool series. It's kind of like a what if. I'd like to think that this is not what happened to the turtles. They just retired somewhere and just ate pizza until they got fat. But this is what happens in the Last Ronin lore. So you got 2 turtles dead. You got Casey Jones dead. You got April missing limbs. You got Michelangelo, and he's beefed up, and he's kind of fucked up in the head. You got a Shredder grandson who is suicidal and just a complete maniac. And then you got his mom who's in stasis. And I think that's it. So still have not revealed what happened to Donnie. What happened to Splinter? I'm sure it's brutal. I'm sure it's just Game of Thrones shit. But yeah, I'm all in on this series. It's really, really entertaining. I would recommend reading it. Hopefully, I didn't spoil it for anybody who was like, well, you should have read the spoiler. Come on, But that's just the recap. In case you're interested, you'll still get a lot out of it if you read it. And the art's great. The art is great. I think there's different artists on every book or what, but the last issue art was fucking phenomenal. But yeah, anyway, Last Ronin, I do recommend this. I feel like I want to read more comic books. I don't know if anybody wants any more comic book reviews, but The Last Ronin was one that was on brand, okay? So I figured, why not do it? So that is it. Obviously, you get this in your local comic book shop. You walk in and you support the small business, and you get the bag and the board, and they tape it, and it's, and you put it away, and it's worth millions later. So make sure to get these. And that is all. Last Ronin comic review. First Mad Hatter comic review. I think it's a success. I feel good about this. I want to actually read this again. Let me know what you guys think about this. Give us the likes, the subscribes, all that, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.